How many of you look at trucking differently after the recent verdict levied against a trailer manufacturer? Is this trucking safety or is this manufacturer neglect? One of the more important questions I think we're going to talk about, and probably is going to occupy a greater part of the show, but moreover, some more good news. Truck parking and a new idea being written about in overdrive and a new way to solve it. And a story on some pretty amazing truckers being recognized for some heroic actions. You know, guys, truckers have opinions. We all have a way of looking at things. And let me tell you something. This is the show to figure that out. Howdy ho and greetings from the Truckin' City Mobile Command. Welcome to another jam-packed hour of broadcast excellence on trucking news, unlike anything you'll ever see. Why? Because I'm the only one that can bring it to you. The El Rushbo of trucking news, hosted here on YouTube, opening the show of all shows. Opinions and well thought out remarks on the United States of trucking starts now. My mission is to improve the lives of every man and woman behind the wheel in our industry by virtue of the unknown. The unknown takes over when silence prevails. When what you accept is rather than what could be. I take the news and I turn it into a digestible bit of usable intelligence backed up with some very unique opinions. 860-785-3547. If you want to get in on the program, 860-785-3547. Email the show with thoughts and comments or stories you want to know more about. You can simply do that by sending an email to That's Truckin' News at Outlook.com. That's Truckin' News at Outlook.com. Call the show, email us, let us know your thoughts. We are here for you. Folks, I'm doing something here that's never been done before. I'm opening a show for you. The press don't have time for you. They don't care whether you live or die. Unless it's a bad accident, unless it's a major shift in the economy or something affecting their bottom line, they won't even talk about you. Other trucking channels are so caught up in their mired schedules and figures out of what they want to do next or who they want to be like. They don't have time for you either. But I, your commander-in-chief of the newly formed Truth and Broadcasting Network, I care about you. I care about our industry. And I, with a skill granted by God himself, have opened up a hub for you, ladies and gentlemen. It's here for you, and I want you to benefit from it. I have only one ask. Before the end of the show, I'd like you to go down below, hit the subscribe button, definitely hit that like button, tell YouTube, I mean what I say. And better yet, go home, tell your mother, tell your father, tell your brother in trucking that someone has stepped up to the plate, stepped up behind the golden TIBN, or what I've called the Truth and Broadcasting Network, microphone and declared war on ignorance. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I've declared war on ignorance. No longer are we going to sit by and let the world go by and not do anything about it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the front lines. And we are sounding the battle cry.
Shall we begin? From the trenches of trucking experience and a passionate heavyweight in the Truth in Broadcasting Network. Welcome to Truckin City News Frontline Podcast, hosted by the most opinionated broadcaster on YouTube, Boss Man.
That's right. I'm your host, Boss Man, single handedly pointing out there's always a way to make trucking great again. As I said earlier, this show is a show built for truckers by truckers. Call our studio lines 860-785-3547. 860-785-3547. We want to hear from you. Once we've gotten through these stories, you're going to want to call in. You're going to want to sound off on what you think needs to happen. I'm charging things up. I'm changing things up. God, I can't even read today. I'm doing things a little bit differently than in shows past. So if you're part of the audience and you've been with us, you kind of have a feeling for how things go. I'm changing things up. Why? I'm doing it to freshen things up, speed things along, and make it digestible for you so that you can get into what we're talking about. So much so, I want to focus on stories and I want to give you guys my perspective and my belief on what needs to happen. Ways of looking at things not everybody thinks of. It's not that I'm always right, because you know what? Half the time I don't. I don't get it right. But the thing is, I'm not afraid to step up and say something that's on my mind. And you may not benefit directly from what I say, but you will from the conversation that comes from it. No one else on YouTube is providing the platform I am. It's my honor to do that. Once my part's finished, call the studio. Be honest, I don't, you know what? I don't do this because I want to be famous. I do this because I want to help you. I want to give you the platform that's necessary to feel like you can make a difference. We have nearly with us over 100 years worth of combined experience. Panelists on this show that show up all the time. And with you in the audience, the possibilities are endless. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, you know what? Some days are better than others. Today is a jam-packed news stories, a bunch of news stories that I think you need to know about. So let's bring on a couple of these guests and let's have some fun. How you doing, Larry? Things happening in your world with any speed, or are they just same old, same old?
Slower than molasses.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you something. On a daily basis, when it comes to actually getting the job done and running your week and running your clock, there have been people that, have shown up on YouTube. I've seen quite a few of them, and there's one thing I've discovered with the shows and the videos I've seen, and that's everybody's got a different way of running. Everybody's got a different way of getting things done. Okay. Guys watching the show, drop in the comments, what is your daily routine? How hard or how easy do you make your life? How hard do you run? Larry, how about you? How hard do you run on a daily basis? Do you do the same thing every day, or do you do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I'm done at the end of the week, I barely have any time to sleep.
So you're more or less a clock runner. You just let the clock guide you. Is that what it is?
Oh no, I'll run. I'd rather not have that thing in here, but
well,
some of us. So.
Well, some of us are clock runners. Others are money runners. Others are goal runners. What about you, Frank?
I just enjoy
how hard do you run? Yeah. How hard do you run? How do you do it?
Well, I run as hard as they'll let me run as much as I can moving freight. But, me being home on a weekly basis as a rule, unless something goes wrong, it makes it a little more different than the way Larry would run things. I mean,
yeah.
Of course, I've been doing this for 24 years, and, it's more like a hobby more than anything to me anymore.
Right, right. That's good to know. Like I said, drop in the comments, guys. Anybody watching, I'm going to get through this first little bit of inspiration for you guys. And as soon as I do that, we're gonna pay homage to some comments and bring some more of the guests on. So in the meantime, sit back and let's check out some good stuff here. If you want to join the show, there's a StreamYard link down below in the description. We'd certainly love to have you on here and hear from you. Just don't be camera shy. You hit that StreamYard link, I'll bring you up as time permits, and certainly every perspective is welcome here. So let's get to the first story, shall we? You know, when it comes down to it, ladies and gentlemen, truckers across America, let me tell you something. You're not out there mile after mile fighting the battles that most people don't even see. You're not alone, okay? You're keeping this country moving right now. And I know some of you feel like the weight of the world is, really heavy, and it's really down on your shoulders. The hours are long. The miles are unforgiving. The torture you go through, the respect you think you need and don't get. Well, you know what? These conditions are tough and these times feel like everything's stacked against you, but here's what you need to hear today. One of the reasons you tuned in. The following quote: "Don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion." Those words were spoken by somebody. They were at one time the greatest of all time. And what did he know? He knew that victory wasn't handed to you. It's earned through struggle. It's earned through sacrifice. Through those moments when you feel like giving up, keep telling yourself, don't give up, suffer now. The pain you're going through, it's temporary. Champions, my friend, are forever. Champions are recognized, are lifted, are realized, sometimes posthumously, but they are recognized nonetheless. And each one of you out there behind the wheel, you guys have the heart of a champion to do the job we do, to get it done unforgivingly. So dig deep, take a deep breath. The road ahead may be long, but what's waiting for you at the end is worth every ounce of struggle you're putting in. Don't stop, don't quit. Keep it going, because we need people on the road today that are champions, just like the man behind that quote, Muhammad Ali. He said at one time, don't quit, suffer now, live the rest of your life as a champion. Having that attitude and having that train of thought certainly will go a long way to keeping your day more pleasant, more visible, more in front, and more capable of getting the job done. While I'm at it, I noticed a video that's kind of upticking a little bit in popularity. I just put out. If you want to talk about a positive in trucking, go to a video that I've titled, "Why Trucking Companies Are Failing." I speak in that video on the subject of illegals, and I speak on a few other topics as well. But while opinions on the state of our industry touch on a great many things, I touch on one that I think a lot of people need to pay more attention to. And listen to this. As soon as I can get it to come up. Technical difficulties, bear with me, folks.
Don't misunderstand my tone or conversation. I am not advocating for illegals to enter in our country and take over our jobs. I am, however, on the side of common sense. How often do we see people being given the minimal amount of training, handed keys to a truck, and said, go do the job, only to go out there, do something stupid, get involved in an accident, and then we sit there and turn around and blame them? Or do we blame the companies that actually push this activity around the industry? See, it's easy to sit there and complain. It's easy to gripe and be negative. But how often do we actually take a stand and do something about it? How many of us have actually chosen to be silent when faced with adversity?
How often do we actually step up and do something about it. That is pretty much what I feel like the best premise of this show is, and where I think the best conversation can be had. Because when you think about it, you could have 100 Muhammad Alis. You could have 100 different versions of what everybody thinks the right thing to do is. But if all you do is think it and you don't announce it, what good does it do? I mean, think about it that way. I mean, guys, how often do we see people getting involved versus not getting involved? Not very often these days. Poet, do you see a lot of positive things in forms of media? I mean, I can't speak for major media because, believe me, I'm taking them completely out of the question because, you know what, they don't have time for us, just as I opened the show. But, I mean, there's got to be people locally, charitable organizations, going some degree, to make public campaign or public awareness campaigns. Do you see much of that where you're at?
Sir.
No.
Oh, sir.
And see, that I think we need more of that. I think we need more people trying to actually make a difference.
I agree.
Not toot my own horn here, but more shows like mine,
No,
I think would benefit us, really.
I made a post on Grumpy's, one of Grumpy's posters,
Mhm.
who was complaining about this very same thing. God, this is on Miss Johnson's post.
Yes, I remember.
So, yeah. So anyway, up here we have our own highways from hell.
Mhm.
Northern Ontario is particularly bad because there's only 2 highways that cross Northern Ontario.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's carnage.
Yeah, it is.
And
It is.
nobody seems to give a damn.
Right. See, I'm glad you brought up the post because you know what? The amount of negative and Grumpy, you know this more than anything because you run the darn thing. The amount of negative that comes up on all these posts when all really people like the post he brought up, all they're trying to do is get advice. And all they're trying to do is reach out and ask people, how would you do this? And the amount of negative that exists really blows my mind. I mean, what do you think about that?
It's honestly made me at times want to just shut the whole darn group down because I've been so frustrated with a lot of the people that are giving horrible opinions or horrible ideas or downgrading people because they don't know something. Give advice. It's good advice. Don't negatate it. It's not right.
Yeah. Let's not turn the industry into something that it's not. It's bad enough we have what we have. And I don't care how many different ways you slice it. You've got a million opinions about the state of the industry. You've got a million opinions about the best way to make it move forward. We are not going to hear all of those or any of those if we have a huge group of people that insist on bringing down everyone else. That's all I'm going to say on that. So, bye, guys, when it comes down to it, the best we can do for one another is help lift each other up. Let's give everybody else in social media and in our own industry a reason to improve, a reason to become better, something to go on, or as my parents used to say after a birthday smack, something to grow on. I hate to pick on my mom for that one, but yeah, she was always famous for that one. Let me bring up something else, okay? Something that may seem trivial, but just another example of what I'm talking about, okay? In the news lately, okay, we've seen a few stories, and truckers love doing this, by the way. Truckers love hating on Buc-ee's, right? Well, you know what? There's an actual company that's taking advantage of that trend, okay? Yet another example of free market at work, okay, where businesses like Buc-ee's make their choices and customers, especially us truckers, respond. Buc-ee's their own clean bathrooms and snacks. They've had quite the fan base. Now, let's be clear. They've made it known they don't want truckers there. No trucks allowed. You see the signs. You see all these guys making the videos. Well, guess what? That's their choice. That's their lot in life. If they don't want truckers, well, we don't want them anyway, right? That's how the free market works. They can decide to do what they want. But here's where it gets good. Well, Buc-ee's is turning their noses up. There's another company that's come and stepped in its place. Quick Trip. If most of you all been around the Southeast, you know about these people. They step up loud and proud saying, we don't do that here. Now, I'm not endorsing Quick Trip, and I've frankly never stopped at any of their locations. But they know how to keep America moving, and they've made sure that their doors are open to truckers. And it's companies like Quick Trip that understand the value of the working men and women like you and me, make us feel welcomed, make us feel appreciated and safe. I got a story coming up more about that in a moment too. But I know some of you out there couldn't care less what Buc-ee's does, and that's your right. That's fine. But let's not forget to praise those who stand by us, and put it in the comments. If you go to Quick Trip, if you're looking for, like me, more companies to actually reach out to us and say, we got your back, let me know where those people are. I want to see that in the comments. I'll be getting to those in just a minute. That's what competition's all about, okay? Let Buc-ee's cater to their highfalutin, cigar smokers or whatever they do, okay? I'm not picking on them. While they pretend to cater to their crowd and make their business, we're going to go where we get the respect. We're going to go where we can actually get the service we want. Free market, that's what it's all about. And in this case, Quick Trip wins my vote. One thing to note here, folks, and one of the reasons I mentioned this, is they went out of their way in this article that I got referenced. By the way, all the links are down below. Please read it. Please look at it at your leisure. Don't just take my word for anything. The links are down there. But they went out of their way to mention that it seems they're particularly interested in mentioning the ladies feel safer in their stores. Okay? Kudos to them. Ladies, you need a place where you feel safe. Because you know what? There's some TAs around here that don't necessarily think, questionable at best. I don't have a way to confirm that other than what's in this article, but anyone that's going to go out of their way to make the ladies feel welcomed and safe, they got my vote. Let me tell you, they got my vote and then some. So let me hear from you in the comments. Once again, 860-785-3547, 860-785-3547. If you'd like to weigh in on this or any story that we have coming up, I want to welcome another guest in and maybe mention here, if you see some guys in the comments, John, let me know. Welcome to the show. Glad you can join us today. We are going through comments and we are looking at who's here. And of course, I'm hitting everything but what I want. Daniel in New Phase. Hello, truckers. Thank you for keeping America stocked up. Welcome to the show, my friend Daniel. I love that you're here. Alicia Moss, there's a lot of negativity and a lot of positive things, but because there are a lot of people needs help around, give thanks to the people that actually will take the time to help out. Thank you for that. Midlife's joining us in the background. The industry's fine. We just need to make good decisions. I agree. Well said, my friend. Let me see here. What's he say about Buc-ee's? Buc-ee's isn't against truckers. They're just against trucks being on their property. And again, it's free market. Everybody has their right. I'm not complaining. I don't care what you do. I mean, if tomorrow Pilot decided to go traveler only, I'd have no choice but to comply. You know what? In the industry, it's not all about us. There's a lot of truckers out there that think it's all about us. My friend, that's not the way it works. John, what are your thoughts? John's not able to speak right at the moment, so we'll come back to him. Larry, what about you? What do you think?
Everyone has their opinion.
Yep. I mean, could you care less whether Buc-ee's lives or dies? I mean, does it matter to you?
No, I don't go there.
You don't? Okay.
And I agree. It's their decision. I mean, look at where some of these truck drivers park. Look around their trucks. Yeah. Would you want that in your parking lot?
No. Yeah, I hear that.
Let me talk on one thing. they've got 50 million trash cans around there, and there's trash scattered everywhere.
Yep, exactly. Let me
No
talk on one
respect.
thing here, let me talk on one thing really briefly here. I'll be back with you in a minute there, bud. Next story I've got in line, talks about something I think there needs to be a little bit more of. Something coming up this next week, Trucker Appreciation or Truck Driver Appreciation Week. Folks, you know what that means? That means everybody's going to be vying for recognition. They're going to want to make sure they get the photo op, shaking our hands, doing whatever. Retailers like TA and Petro, every year they step up and they do the same thing. They want to show some love to the men and women like you and me who keep this country running. Just so you know, from the 15th to the 21st, drivers will be greeted with special offers, discounts on oil changes, free meals, and even surprise thank you cards. This is a whole week dedicated to giving back to the people who deserve it the most, you and me. Now, you got TA Petro and even TA Express rolling out the red carpet. They're partnering with names like Coca-Cola, Burger King, Keebler, make sure truckers feel appreciated. Now, I've spoken years past, and I've made big stinks about the fact that, you know what, if you're going to do driver appreciation, you need to do it more than just 1 week. Well, I can tell you, and I think most of the panelists can also vouch for the fact that TA especially, they do host specials on more than just one occasion. This is not the only sleeve they're rolling up. But they're giving back to the industry also in a way of raising nearly $300,000 this summer for charities like St. Christopher's Trucker Relief Fund and Truckers Against Trafficking. They're putting their money where their mouth is and helping truckers in need and supporting real causes. Meanwhile, you've got Buc-ee's doing what they're doing. And I had a whole opinion written up about that, but I'm not even going to waste time. If you guys frequent the TAs and Petros, just know that between the 15th and the 21st, they're going to be paying some attention to you guys and giving you guys a little bit of love. And you know what? Some of you guys in warehousing and distribution can take a lesson from these guys. Take a moment, walk next door to the guy's truck you're loading, knock on the door, and rather than tell him, hey, get lost, say, hey, I just want to take a moment and thank you for the job you do. Here's a card for a free coffee. Or here's a thank you from my boss. Or just a handshake. I don't want nothing from you, but a thank you will go a long way. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me. I've said a long time, if you don't want to appreciate me, the other 300 and see what is 7 minus 365, 358 days a year, I don't have time for you. There's more to our job in recognition than just 1 week. And that's how I feel about that. We want to talk about stepping up when no one's looking. More to go through the stories. I want to keep you guys updated and in quick pace. No, wrong story. Hang on just a second. Wrong one. I don't have a slide on that. Wow, look at this. No, interesting. Alrighty then. Let me see what I planned on this. I'm just going to tell you the story. Okay? One of these stories that reminds us to strengthen the courage and the backbone of America's truckers is in the heart. This past Saturday, an absolute nightmare unfolded on I-75 in Kentucky. And where I would have had graphics displaying this, I'm just going to tell you my thoughts. I'm not focusing on the nightmare itself. Rather, I'm going to focus on what's important. Some maniac with an AR-15 rifle opened fire on innocent and helpless motorists going down the road. Now, everybody called out the forces. Everybody got things done. In the end, some people were injured and some people died. Now, that by itself is terrifying enough. And to my knowledge, they still haven't caught the person. They're still at large. If they have, let me know in the comments, because I have not followed that part. But what I did follow will really make you stop and think. Imagine sitting in your car, minding your own business, and suddenly gunshots are ringing all over the place. But what's worse than that? Imagine being a child on board a school bus and witnessing that. That has got to be a life-altering thing. I'm not going to go into detail, but you see, while all this was going on, there was these truckers that thought ahead and shamelessly put themselves in a line of fire, and they saw these school kids stranded on that highway, and they took action. They used their semi trucks, being the unsung heroes, good men, proud guys, surrounded those buses with their rigs, creating a barrier to protect those students. Now that is what a trucker is right there. Didn't stop and think, didn't hesitate. They just sprang into action, proving once again that when the chips are down, America's truckers are always there to do the job. While the mainstream media likes to paint truckers as just another cog in the machine, let's take a moment and acknowledge the heroism that took place on I-75 near exit 49 in the moments kids needed it most. They acted without hesitation. They did so without orders and shamelessly moved without the expectation that any praise would come out of it. This is what we are built on. This is what we as truckers are built to do. Let me tell you something. This isn't some rare exception. This is what we do. Others may run from danger. We see it and we act. So to those truckers that acted, to those guys, if you're watching this show and you happen to know one of them, if you are one of them, give yourselves a grand pat on the back. Know that my hat's off to you. And trust me, this hat's been through a lot. It don't come off for much.
Oh, man, he just took his hat off.
Oh, yeah. I salute you guys for being the breath of fresh air that all of us need. John, what do you think about that? I mean, you've been behind scenes, saying little, doing little. I got to hear from you, my friend. What do you think about that? Going into action when no one expects it, no one's going to even realize it unless you're somebody like me. What do you think?
I think that's awesome. I think a lot of us out here would do the same. But you're never going to see that on regular news media. I mean, pretty much only on this show are you ever going to see anything or hear anything about that. But they don't do it for recognition. But hats off to them. I would hope more of us would be like that. So, I'm sorry about earlier. I jumped in on the app rather than on the studio and on.
Hey, that's fine.
Online,
you're here. That's the most important thing. Anything you want to say or recognize before we move on, or what?
I want to say Quick Trip with a K. I think that's the one you were talking about. Love their stores. Been there quite frequently. I actually was at one today. Great place. Great place to stop. Clean. Pretty much anything you'd ever need, food wise, and much healthier than what you get at most of those other stores. So.
Exactly. Donna is in the audience. Hi, how's everybody doing today? We are fantastic. Despite the news, despite the media, we are so great. If I were any better, you'd see two of me. But I digress. Poet, do you see things like extreme heroism in your neck of the woods? And how often do you actually see media companies or outlets recognizing that? And what do you think of what happened in Kentucky?
It's hard to tell anymore. Okay, I really haven't had a job since March. Laid off, the economy, yada yada yada. But in the past few years, okay, heroism, I haven't seen much. It's guys that will watch it.
Yeah, it almost seems like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I have seen guys, truckers, watch a truck burn down to the ground. Okay, and nobody tried to help when
grab a fire extinguisher. Yeah, that really, they'll grab a camera before they'll grab an extinguisher. Really, it's a shame. It really is.
Well, my question would be, did they let it burn down because their payment was due and they didn't have the money?
Yeah, you never know. Good point. Good point. Good point.
No, I call BS on that. Okay,
Well,
any human being would grab a fire extinguisher, not the camera.
exactly. Grumpy, what do you think of what happened in Kentucky? Anything you want to say
You
about
know, being that I'm also certified school bus driver as well as a truck driver, I've driven school buses and tell you that's very brave, very honorable. I guarantee you, I would shake those men's hands 100%.
Yep.
Very happy for them for doing that.
Not saying much about your character, Grumpy, but picture yourself being in that. What would you do that? I mean, honestly, I have to ask, would you do that knowing you could get hit?
Yeah, company driver or otherwise, I would do it.
Yeah,
I would definitely do it.
yeah.
Those children have a reason to live.
They do, and you know what? I have to say unequivocally, I would put myself in the line of fire if it was somebody else's kid, because I would hope and pray that there's enough decency left in this earth that if my children were ever on a school bus in that situation, someone would do exactly what I would. That's all I got to say on that. I mean, yeah.
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Yep. Larry, what about you? What do you got to say about them guys? And would you do that yourself?
Absolutely. Without even thinking about it.
Yep, there you go.
At least the kids would go home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if I didn't.
If I may mention,
go ahead.
Remember the song Phantom 309?
Vaguely, I remember the title. Yes.
That has stuck in my head. Okay. Me before kids.
There you go. Good analogy. I like that. Good analogy. To answer Donna's question, she asked, how's everybody doing? What did I miss? I'll encourage you to check out the replay. I'll tell you what you don't want to miss. Do not, under any circumstances, miss Saturday's show. If you think this show is good, I've got a doozy plan. Because you know what? There are people planning events in trucking, and their thought is that they're going to help trucking. But little do they know that, in my opinion, they're going to do nothing more than hurt trucking. So tune in on Saturday, where I'm going to elaborate on the event coming up, what I think that unfolding event will do, and moreover, what we can do to fight back against what these people are trying to fight against. Tune in on Saturday at 11 o'clock. I assure you, it will be worth your while. Sassafras says they took a lot of guts and nerves for them to do what they did, and we should be thanking them every day for what they did, and they stepped up to protect those kids. We should indeed. And I think it goes further than just a week of recognition. I really do. So, okay, I'll be on Saturday. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you, everybody. Let me move on to the most important story and reason all of us tuned in today. I want to set you guys wise to something that I think we need to pay a lot more attention to. Okay? This stuff going on with lawsuits. I mean, do we really think we're getting anywhere doing this stuff? I mean, we need to talk about this. Honestly, this is something that's really putting a squeeze on the industry. These so-called nuclear verdicts, okay? They're shaking the very foundation of trucking companies all across America. Now, the latest one involves Wabash trailers. Y'all know about it. You've all heard about it. Okay, a major trailer manufacturer hit with a jaw-dropping $462 million verdict. The result of a tragic accident where a car slammed into the back of a trailer, resulting in a fatality. The lawyers around Wabash could have made safer rear impact guards. That was their argument. And jury decided that the company was 65% responsible. But here's the thing.
Wow.
And this is where truckers everywhere ought to be sitting up and paying attention. These lawsuits, these nuclear verdicts, they're doing more than holding companies accountable. They're actually hurting the entire industry, in my opinion. The very truckers who move America, well, we're under threat by these, okay? When a company like Wabash gets hit with nearly $500 million, think about that, in damages, that cost gets passed down. It don't get passed down to the consumer. No, it gets passed down to the people like you and me. We buy these trailers. We rent these trailers. We maintain these trailers. We service them. Okay? It hits the manufacturers, the carriers, and then ultimately it hits us. Now, I'm not saying safety isn't important. Okay? But when juries are prevented from hearing the key evidence, like the fact that the driver was over the legal blood alcohol limit and wasn't even wearing a seatbelt, you've got to ask yourself, is this really justice? Or is this another way to trap a trucker in a liability lawsuit? I mean, this isn't just about Wabash or one tragic accident. This is about the message these verdicts send. And again, here's my opinion. Comment down below if you disagree with what I'm about to tell you. Are we telling truckers and manufacturers that no matter how hard you try, you're going to get sued out of existence the moment something goes wrong? The system is creating an environment where the real cost of operating trucking business is really seriously unpredictable. Whether you're hauling freight or manufacturing trailers, you can't predict. You can't survive. We got to have a serious discussion here. And I mean, honestly, are these nuclear verdicts truly about accountability? Or are they sending the wrong message? Truckers and industry professionals need to be asking the tough questions, because you know what? These kind of lawsuits, they could leave every trucker like you and me exposed to life-crippling liability. That's the debate we need to have. Let's not allow a jury's decision or a trend that a very few states have actually started passing regulations and laws to prevent. Let's not let ourselves get absent from the critical facts here, okay? We need to survive. We do need accountability, and we need people to be safe and build safe equipment, but we also need to keep this country moving. Let me know in the comments what you think. 860-785-3547. If you want to get involved, sound off on the story, by all means, let me know what you think. Guys, I mean, when it comes down to it, we all have a job to do. And to sit here wondering about what the future holds, nuclear verdicts like this really could virtually cripple the industry. John, what do you think? Do you think this is something to be concerned about, or do you think this is just another one of those things that's here today, gone tomorrow?
Well, it's not going anywhere. It's been around for decades. I mean, it's in trucking now, but it's been in every corporation. I think it feeds back into that whole thing in society where if you own a business, you have expendable money and insurance companies cover you, so you can sue an unlimited amount. That's not true, but that's what the society believes. I mean, you know, hot coffee spills on your lap and you get millions, right? Or you brake check a semi and he rear ends you, you get millions, right?
We're an over litigious society nowadays, and we look at these big ticket arguments. Would this actually change your mind? Let me impart this information on you. Okay, the fella that actually was involved in the accident, his name was Taryn Taylor. He was 30 years old. He collided with the rear end of the trailer. Take a wild guess out of this $462 million settlement. Take a wild guess how much money the family actually received. Do you know? Do you really think what he received or what they received was even worth it? No, to me, it was a slap in the face, because out of that settlement, $462 million, 450 went to take care of the penalties and cumulative damages to the industry, went to some benign account somewhere. 50, what was it? The remaining $12 million went to the family. 12 million, 12, huh? Really? Does that pay for the life the life, I might add, of a drunk person not wearing a seatbelt. I'm not criticizing, but the jury didn't hear all the evidence and frankly passed some really huge dollar amount on a shady story that they didn't get the full facts on. And in the end, the family only winds up with a measly $12 million. Give me a break. Grumpy, what do you think? Would that be a slap in your face?
I call it the factor of liars, not lawyers, liars. They get in there, they're money hungry, they're after one thing, money. They don't care about the family. They don't care about who got hurt. They don't care about what happened to that trailer. They don't care about the company. They're looking out for themselves. So they're going to go for as high amount as they can get so they make out the money on that. And I guarantee you those liars made a lot of money from it. Now, because look at all these other trailer companies that are out there. Hyundai, there's Great Dane, and a few others. Exactly. What's going on with that? Is all their trailers not right either? I mean, for an impact, it looks like that guy had to have been doing 50, 60 miles an hour whenever he scooted underneath there like that.
And
not to mention he was drinking.
Not well. I mean, I, you know what? Kudos to him. In all seriousness, let me ask you a question. How many times do you run around and actually see trailers like pictured right here? Versus how many times do you see trailers like pictured here? I mean, think about it.
Not very
pictured
often.
right there in the
often.
thumbnail. Pictured there in the thumbnail is representative of a picture of a trailer that has no DOT bumper. Now, more often than not, we see this. We see this right here. That is pretty commonplace. And matter of fact, you can't even pass a DOT inspection without a trailer that has a DOT bumper on it that is impact resistant. So in my mind, seeing the pictures not only on the thumbnail of my video, but also of what's going on behind you right now, seeing the pictures of the aftermath of the accident that you're seeing displayed right here, all right, there had to have been a bumper, but that car took it out, which tells me that car was moving.
Up underneath it.
Exactly, that car was moving. I mean,
probably.
How can Wabash be held responsible for that? How can Wabash possibly predict a 70-mile-an-hour impact?
Yeah.
One person on this panel can tell you specifically how unexpected a rear-end collision can be. Can you, John?
Yeah, I was just about to say, if you're going to let me talk real quick, I can tell you, last year I was at a red light, turned green, I started accelerating. Lady hit me from behind, never slowed down, never hit her brakes, 70 miles an hour, right in the back of my trailer. Trust me, that DOT bumper was bent up, but it was still there. And 100% on her, obviously. But the point is, the point that this guy sued and he rear-ended somebody, I'm not sure why that lawsuit even happened. Are they saying the trailer itself is deficient?
They were saying in the lawsuit that it did not have a DOT bumper, which is why I pointed out the thumbnail the way I did. I put the arrow just so you guys can see it. Once again, I put the arrow in the thumbnail pointing right up at where the license plate holder usually is. At what should be there is a DOT bumper. And on most trucks, when you see a rear end collision, and you of all people, John, know this, it gets bent, it gets tore up. A DOT bumper is a protection, yes, but it's no guarantee.
Well, I can tell you, even at 70 miles an hour, it didn't bend it up that far because she was going 70 when she hit me, and it only bent it upward about a foot. That's bent all the way. It was like a 45 instead of a full 90 or whatever that would be.
Right.
So she was, whatever car that was, he was not going 70. He was going like 130.
He was doing something fast. Yeah.
See,
I mean, again,
when I look
just like I put on the caption, you know, Whose fault? Is it Taylor or is it the trucker? I mean, we're sitting here talking about a verdict, but let's talk about the real cause of the accident. I mean, if you're drunk, if you're going higher than normal's posted speed, if you're driving unsafe and you're not wearing a seatbelt, why blame the company that made the trailer? Why blame the trucker? Why blame the company running the trailer?
Call it cash grab.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Why make it an issue out of something that could have been prevented to begin with? You weren't expecting it when you were actually accelerating away from a traffic light, John. You didn't expect it. You lost sight of the vehicle. You were doing the right thing. You were traveling and accelerating, and bam.
So yeah, actually, the strange part was I saw her coming, and it was a 4-lane, so I had 2 on my side, 2 on the other side. I saw her coming, and I kept thinking she's gonna get in the left lane, she's gonna get in the left lane, she's gonna get in the left lane, and she was getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm getting, I'm staying in the right lane. I'm like, she's gonna see me and move. She's gonna see me until her lights disappeared, and then my entire truck, a loaded semi, 80,000 pounds, jumped.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So if that doesn't tell you, now luckily she walked away from it and she was okay. But
wow.
Yeah, my first thought was it wasn't even anything about the truck or the car. Is she better be okay? When I found out she was okay, because I've always said if someone loses their life, whether it's my fault or not, I'm out of this business. And so that was my first thing. I ran up there. I parked about 200 yards up the road to get over, and then ran back to her. She was in the ditch, and she was already out of her car looking for her dog that got loose. So she was fine. But
yeah, and there was every reason to believe that the girl was probably hyped up. I mean, you said for a while she was looking for something that didn't exist. So my heart went out to her for that.
No, her dog was there. She did have a dog, but it jumped out of the car when she opened the door, and it ran off.
Okay.
And she was more worried about that dog than her car, my truck, her life. Like that was the most important thing.
Whatever. Yeah.
And credit to the 40 first responders that showed up. They were all looking for that poor dog. So if anybody sees Reese's, let me know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, did he ever show back up? Lord knows, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah. What you got, Poet?
I have a Reese's in my refrigerator.
I see 4 gussets, strengthening gussets on that particular trailer, okay, in your thumbnail. Up here, most trailers only have the center 2. Okay. So Wabash has actually increased the strength of what we used to call an ICC bumper. Not the DOT bumper. No, we used to call it an ICC bumper. They've doubled the strength. And up here in Canada, we have the 2 center ones.
Right.
Forget about the 2 outside ones.
Right.
So for that verdict to come down, I have 2 things to say. BS.
Yeah.
To that saying what you just talked about, okay, just like you've got up there, the majority of our trailers down here that are Wabash, because my company has a bunch of Wabashes. They only have the 2 center ones also. They don't have the outer ones.
Okay.
So that's probably a picture that Boss Man was able to get a hold of, and it may be something that's, there's no telling. I mean, but it's a good demonstration to show the back end of the trailer.
Joe W. has joined us.
You understand where I'm coming from, right?
Well,
oh yes, Joe W. has joined us with a comment. He says they're not ICC bumpers anymore. They are, in that they're impact resistant bumpers, but they're more commonly called, in my terminology, what I'm used to hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, DOT bumpers. That's what they're referred to, because DOT will shut you down if you don't have one. So that's what I know about that. So
1956, they were actually named after a famous movie star. They got killed by one.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, because
he beat me to it. I was about to say that.
Well,
yeah, because they didn't have bumpers.
I think her name was Jane Mansfield or something like that.
Okay.
To the poster of that post.
And they were originally called the Mansfield Bar.
When I started.
Yeah.
Right. And
go ahead, Poet.
Before I started trucking, back in the day, we had the Interstate Commerce Commission, the ICC, and that bumper was called an ICC bumper. I'm sorry that they're not called an ICC bumper anymore. I'm just an old dude, and
no, you're not just an old dude. You got some pretty wise things to say and very good wisdom. So don't call yourself something you're not. I will not let you get on the show and embarrass yourself.
You let me do that all the time.
You do that.
Hit your shin on it and find out what that ICC
also to add to that, on the trailer thing, I actually was talking to one of my coworkers there that's over our maintenance, and that gentleman said that he believes it was around 2000, or not 2000, excuse me, 2020, that they actually told Wabash they had to change the way that was made. So anything prior to that was technically legal. Anything after that, every trailer after that had to be certain standards. So,
right.
Wow.
Despite that fact, though, honestly, tell me, everybody here on the panel, I want you to tell me, when was the last time you seen a 53-foot trailer move around anywhere without an impact bumper on the back? Anyone?
Never.
I've seen Swift take several off. Oh.
Yeah. Is that before or after? Is that before or after the accident?
Yeah, I was going to say, wrong video. Yeah.
Never.
That was good.
Never.
Grumpy, that was good. That was a good moment right there.
And some companies
I don't care who you are.
60-footers.
Uh-huh. Let's shift gears for a second. Let's shift gears for 1 second. Do you guys think the media is painting an unfair picture of the industry when they're reporting these lawsuits? Or do you think that they're just shedding light on necessary changes? What do you think? It's got to be one or the other. Do you think they want to change something, or do you think they're just putting us in the same usual light that they paint every trucker with every time a bad accident happens? What do you guys think?
They want to screw us.
Well, I will tell you the reason why my saying is truckers are people too. The reason why I say my saying is truckers are people too is because that's what they do. They vilify truckers. The reason why is eventually they want to remove us, and if we're villains, it's easier to do. Truckers are people too. We're people. We bleed. We're no different than anybody else in our industry. It's just our chosen career gives us the ability to be a little bit more seen by the general public. But we are people, and we're not villains. So not all of us anyway. There are a few.
People like me, I can be a villain against the media. But, I mean, I'm a person. I bleed red, just like everybody else on this panel. Sometimes more than most, but I bleed. I won't go there. Disgusting topic. Anyway, so, I mean, here's another question. Should the manufacturers be forced to spend millions every year to make these trailers safer? Or are these verdicts just an overreach? What do you think? It's got to be one or the other.
Don't they already?
It's easily an overreach.
I think it is. I do. I mean, you mentioned it, Larry. Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel they're safe enough already?
The side skirts. How many trailers go down the road? You have the side skirts to stop people from going underneath from the side.
Right. Oh, and by the way, those are only good when you have a 100 degree or 270 degree. If you got the whole compass radius thing, if you're approached from behind, from the two angles, that'll deflect.
Right.
But studies have said that those do not really help that much if it's straight 90 or straight 270.
Do you know what those are really for on the side of our trailers?
What are they for?
Yeah,
Come
those
on,
are for
boss man.
aerodynamics. Those
It's
aren't for safety. Those
aerodynamics.
are for
It's dunnies that we
aerodynamics.
got thrown on us because California said it would help.
No.
Well, it does help. Okay, let's be honest. It does help.
It does a little bit, but
Does it?
you won't even notice it.
Does
But
it?
the whole thing going in Congress right now,
That's not true.
they're trying to pass a law that says federally all the trailer manufacturers have to put resistant guards on the sides instead of what we currently have. They've got to be able to resist crashes, just like the bumpers. Can you imagine how heavy these trailers are going to be?
Yep.
Well,
I can. What
when
happened
they take
to
the
me in 1974 when a guy run a stop sign, went under my trailer, took up one dolly leg, okay?
Right.
Everything from the dash up was gone, and everything from here up was gone.
Wow.
Okay? And I did get sued.
Mm-hmm.
The only
You personally?
reason they couldn't.
They sued you personally?
Yes, 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I still have nightmares. Okay?
I can see
Not
why.
as often as what I used to. Not as often as what I used to. But I'll probably have one tonight because I've been discussing this.
Yeah, right.
Hang on.
Hope you don't.
That's okay.
Go ahead,
I'll
Grumpy.
say this and I'll say it again. It's all about right here, the green bag or whatever currency we have in whatever country, because we're not the only country that has issues like this. They have lawyers, aka liars, everywhere, and they're like vultures.
Yep.
And here in America, they really are bad.
Yep.
I don't want to change gears on you.
They're the same. They're the same in Canada. I refuse to go across to Buffalo to talk to the family's lawyers. I said, "You want to talk to me? You come to Fort Erie. I'm not crossing the border."
Yep. That's your prerogative.
I don't want to change gears, but I got to call you guys out here. You guys say it's a very small difference size skirts on a trailer. When you own the truck and the trailer and you're paying for the fuel, if you can save a quarter of a gallon a mile or a tenth of a gallon a mile over a year, you're putting thousands in your pocket. It's not a small amount.
I agree with that statement, John, but the overall realization of that savings goes more to the aerodynamics around the truck or it goes less to the aerodynamics around the truck more than it does your style of driving. How much you idle, what you do in other respects of your job to mind your own fuel mileage and increase fuel efficiency. That is,
I would say all of that.
One thing. Right. But that skirt versus no skirt isn't really going to be that much of a difference. If you make up for that gap in other ways, it more or less balances out.
Well, what if you had the skirts and you drove better? And the wheel covers, and the...
I don't think the difference would be thousands.
Okay,
no, it
now
is.
think of it this way. Take the skirts off, because we got some trailers that don't have skirts, okay?
Right.
They're still legal.
Midlife? I want midlife.
You take off some of them skirts, and you drive and figure it up on each one of them. Say you pull that trailer all the time, and another truck, same like yours, pulls a trailer with skirts.
Right.
You're going to find out that you're not going to get much of a difference, because the factor of it is those skirts are more weight hanging on that damn trailer.
Very little weight
it may
compared
push
to
a
the
little
benefit.
bit of weight.
No. You guys are wrong. I'm telling you.
Okay, John, indulge me.
When it's a fuel economy, every little tiny bit, it puts money in your pocket.
Indulge me a moment, John. Grumpy, you're saying the weight difference. How much weight does it add to your trailer with having skirts on versus not having skirts? You know how much weight it adds?
If you add what holds it on there, and you put the panels on there, you're looking at around 250 pounds total right there, at least.
No,
because they're not light.
At least
Because they're made out of
picked them up
fiberglass.
before.
Okay, no, wait. I'm going somewhere with this. Do you notice a difference in fuel mileage if you hauled empty versus one pallet in the back of your trailer? Have you ever calculated the difference? Do you notice a difference?
Who are you asking?
Grumpy. I'm engaging him in this conversation.
Okay.
If you haul a load, Grumpy, that has one pallet on it versus you're driving through with nothing on it, do you notice the difference in fuel? One pallet, let's say it's 1,000 pounds.
Hang on.
Damn.
Okay, so one pallet.
And you're driving on a straightaway.
That's some
I mean, yeah, you might go notice us a little bit. Not a lot.
The point that I'm getting to, Frank, is your argument has little merit, but a lot of validity to it. Yes, aerodynamics will play. So to that, I agree with John.
Yes.
But the weight difference, I can't accept that. I have not ever calculated the difference between an extra 1,000 versus no pound, or the difference between 250 pounds versus. It all goes to the original statement I make, and that's your style of driving, your amount of idling, the amount of fuel you purchase, how often do you actually run versus when are you home. The overall picture from start to finish when you track your mileage has every bearing on whether or not you run an efficient operation. One simple change, like skirts, isn't going to make one that's all that noticeable. To your point, John, yes, it helps, but it's not going to make or break the difference. That's my.
It's not going to make or break, but it's like building a house. You need a foundation, right? When you're going for fuel efficiency, you have to have all the different corners covered. Otherwise, you don't have a house, right?
So you're going to tell me that
hang on. To go to Frank here for real quick, I got something I got for Frank here. Let me ask you a question. If a company, because you're a company driver, if a company said to you, all you have to do is wear this ball cap. It doesn't matter if it said Driving with John or Truckin City Media, but you have to wear this ball cap, and we'll pay you $10,000 more this year. Would you do it?
If you're going to get a bonus out of saving fuel, like JB Hunt and Prime and a few other companies do, go for it.
No. I'm talking about you as a person. Okay, me, if I was an owner-operator right now, if I was, and if I could make an extra $5,000 because I had side skirts on my trailer, which it's probably more than that, but over an entire year. But let's say I could. Why wouldn't you do it? $5,000, putting it in your pocket.
Well, I mean, it's just like the silly things that go on the hubcaps, okay? You're not saving enough there.
Oh, my goodness. No, yes, you are.
You're not
wind drag.
You're not answering his question, Frank.
No, I would not.
You wouldn't take $5,000 for nothing.
I have been doing this 24 years. And just like Boss Man was saying, the biggest part is going to be idle time and drive time.
Yes,
and
all of that
and how
matters.
you drive. The damn aerodynamics was a goof ass somebody that wanted to put more money in their pocket so they come up with more ideas.
No, you're wrong. Worst paid trucking right now. I'm telling you. All of those things make a difference. You know your hood mirrors? If you took one hood mirror off, it saves you something like 1/8 of a tank per gallon.
Well, gee, why don't I just drive a new Tesla truck down the highway? Yay, I'll save a lot of fuel.
It's all about the bottom line. It's not about the truck. Are you a trucker or are you a business owner?
This show is.
May I interject here?
Poet, by all means. As soon as you finish your point, Poet, I want to pay attention back to the comments. But go ahead, Poet.
Okay, so up here, what they want is side guards. Okay, not skirts, guards.
Right, guards. Okay.
They want a minimum of 4-inch round. Okay, either stainless or aluminum tubing.
Right.
Okay, hanging to within 9 inches of the ground.
Right.
You really think that would have saved the guy's life back in 74?
Well, I don't know
Not
the
a whole lot.
circumstances in that accident, but I can definitely tell you what you just described would not have made a difference with Mr. Taylor,
No.
who lost his life in Kentucky. Or I think the accident we're talking about happened back in 2019 in Missouri, if I remember correctly. But no, it wouldn't have made much of a difference.
I understand, but my accident happened. I was going this way. Wait a minute. I'm trying to orientate myself. He came this way at a 90-degree angle.
Okay.
Okay.
No.
That's not going to do nothing.
No. In some cases, something like what you just described could be a deflection and could save if it's built correctly. But you know what? The faster the speed you're going, the less likelihood is you're going to survive something like that. But that's pure physics and science at play there. Let me pay attention to a couple of comments that came in while we were having this hot debate over fuel mileage. Midlife pops up and says the $450 million was punitive damage. It was calculated based on how much money Wabash saved not replacing the bumpers they knew to be deficient from 04 to 2019. Good information. Well, that's all fine and good, but it certainly did not help the family. Thank you for that info, though. The bumpers were actually called Mansfield under guard protection systems. Good. Mr. Almanac, I can depend on you every chance. I'll tell you what.
Data.
Yeah, data there to your point. Grumpy is part of it. He says Wabash knew the trailer bumpers were deficient. They chose not to recall and fix them to save money. That's why they were hit for punitive damages. Now that part I get, and I'm not arguing that part. What I'm saying and what I mean to point out by the whole story and what I presented is, first, the nuclear verdicts. That by itself is damaging enough. But the fact remains that 450 next to the measly 12 that went to the family. I mean, I get why it's so low because you know what? Even though they didn't tell the jury the state of the man driving, no seatbelt, all that. Yeah, but it still does nothing for the family. Because do you think the family really cared whether or not he was drinking? Do you think they really care whether or not he was wearing a seatbelt? How many times do families really not care about the details? They've lost their loved one, for God's sakes. If you're going to have a suit, liability, civilly or otherwise, at least make it make sense. At least make it represent the facts. And the fact that the jury didn't even bring that up, that tells me they had no respect for the dead.
Well, it wasn't about the guy in the car. It was about the truck being deficient. I get that. As long as those punitive damages that were paid went to fix all the ones that weren't right on the road, I don't have as much of an issue with it anymore. I didn't know that, but thank you, Midlife.
Never happened.
Joe W comes on, I guess, coming into your corner, John. He says it's all about the same reason. They take the side view mirrors off race cars. It's all about aerodynamics. They go faster and further. I get you there, my friend. I follow NASCAR quite a bit, so I can definitely relate to that comment. One more story, not to kill the vibe, because I mean I overlooked the story because I wanted to get to this, but it's still important, and I want you guys to know about it, to look for it, and tell me what you think. Plus, I want to see if I'm actually crazy for this. And again, I don't have graphics on this. Just bear with me, okay? From Overdrive magazine, the writer clearly floored by a couple of security guards at a Florida warehouse. In this article showing basic human decency. Now, I get it's refreshing to be treated like a human being. I advocate for that a lot, okay? But this writer's naivety is almost laughable, thinking that a couple of kind gestures somehow point to a corporate shift in caring about truckers. And by that, what I'm talking about is something known as bullpens. And when I say the term bullpen, we think of the pitcher warming up for the baseball game, right? You don't typically use that in trucking. It makes no sense. But the idea that bullpens exist is actually gaining an increasing awareness, okay? Because there are companies actually utilizing this. It's a designated area where truckers can go both before and after loading or unloading and actually complete a 10-hour rest break, not be chased off, and actually in some cases have even amenities as well. Now, the idea that zoning laws could actually be utilized enough to use this as fixing the problem, that's one of the things the man keys in on this article. I hate to burst your bubble, guy, but zoning laws, it's going to be a major sticking point because not a lot of people in other areas other than Florida are going to give in to that. We can't even get basic infrastructure plans passed, let alone parking solutions. I mean, need I say more? But you know what? Everybody has a right to dream and push their ideas and agendas. Now, how about we think about things more practically? Instead of waiting for Uncle Sam or some brainiac to come up with ideas, we do have solutions available. We've talked about in previous lives about the parking club, about other prepaid solutions. Something to pay more attention to. And as I find stories like that or personally experience stuff like that, I'm going to put it on this show, make you guys smarter for it. The reality is we're getting strapped left, right, and sideways. We're getting hosed, made to pay for solutions, pay taxes, fines, fees that cover these things. And it really should be natural. Instead of creating an issue where zoning laws have to be the thing, where special space is set aside, why don't more distributors just have a heart and say, look, if you're running hard on time, you can stay. Maybe not, the entire day, 14, 15 hours like some people do. But you know what? Be legal. If companies go the distance and say, you as a driver matter to me, I am not going to force you to drive fatigued. I am not going to require you to have an accident. We as operators, whether we drive for someone else or run our own truck, we would be more apt and more ready and willing and able to take a load going to that facility. Comment in the chat. Let me know if you agree. 860-785-3547. We do have some time left in this program.
Can I have that one?
Go ahead, John. By all means.
Well, I'm not one that talks bad about trucking very often, but you can't blame anybody but ourselves. The reason why shippers don't do that more is because we leave trash holes. They throw trash in the yards. They throw pee bottles, bags full of, you know what?
Whatever,
Yeah. My point is, a lot of shippers don't have the real estate, but if they do have the real estate, a lot of them used to allow it and they don't anymore because some of us out here on the road, and I don't mean to say us as I'm one of them, but there are some real people that they don't have any respect for other people's property.
Right.
And
I think
it's nice that.
Okay, now I can hear you. Never mind, sorry. You faded out for a second. And you faded out again. What are your thoughts, Grumpy? What do you really care one way or the other, or do you think, well, let's just let the government take care of it?
No, honestly, something like that, if the companies that would deliver to or pick up from, wouldn't get with the program and maybe do something like that, then eventually what's going to happen, is we're going to have the feds get involved with regulating and saying, hey, he's brought you a load, he's out of time, give him a place to park for 10 hours. 10 hours is up, sayonara.
Well, you've got these people that exist not only in our audience, but in the industry that say, why didn't you plan better?
It's not always possible to plan better because there's sometimes you sit at these docks for hours on end and you cannot get to a place to park. You can do PC sometimes if your company allows for it. But PC is a very touchy subject, which we've touched on before.
Yeah, no, it's optional. Not every company allows it. Not every company will, I mean, it's all different. And again, like you said, it's a whole nother video topic. Last question I got. I'm going to get a couple of comments, and then I've got a schedule to keep myself. So let me ask you something. When it comes to training, should there be a focus on more training and accountability for trucking companies? Or do we really need to reform the legal system to the point where we're not dealing with stuff like this on such a frequent basis? Now, the only reason I bring this up is because, you know what? In that video I highlighted at the start, one of my chief complaints is, and one of the things you'll notice watching that video, is that there should be a revamp of training, not regulations, Midlife, don't even go there. But what we should do is pay more attention to training the newer guys, and even some of the guys that come in and start with, other companies, start working. Every company's different, that kind of mentality. If we as an industry take more accountability and actually take the time to mentor people instead of running them through the mill, show them what needs to be done, what is the best way to do it, rather than sit back and complain, I personally feel like there's a large chance less of these nuclear verdicts would even happen. Do you guys agree? Put it in the comments. Let me know. Paula, what do you think? Do you think change in training would actually make an effect or make a difference? What do you think?
It will. It will. It would. It should. Coming back to that bus accident a few years ago in Saskatchewan, Canada, where 16 hockey players and whoever else got killed and a whole bunch got injured.
Okay.
The government of Saskatchewan started a MELT program. Okay.
Okay.
And it went federal.
Similar to our ELDT down here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's mentoring, early learning, training, all the rest of it.
Okay.
6 months ago, Saskatchewan decided, oh, well, we need more truckers. We're going to do away with that program. Like, huh?
Okay.
Follow my drift? Yes, it can help.
Yeah.
But only if it's implemented, enforced, and not reneged on.
Right. I'm going to take a risk here because I'm going to let you guys know in advance. I'm going to be probably ending the show here in about 10 minutes. I have a schedule to keep. I'm on a delivery myself. I'm going to bring on a guest who's backstage, only because I think he'll probably have a beneficial part to play in this discussion that we were having with John a moment ago. Midlife, am I assuming that to be the case, or am I signing my death warrant into a 2-hour show?
John is the only one in this show that thinks like a businessman. The rest of you think like truckers. And I got bad news for you. When you think like a trucker, you fail as a lease operator every freaking time.
Why is that?
Side skirts. Why do you think I haven't done it?
If you go into a lease operator thinking like a trucker, you'll fail every time. You'll buy your fuel wrong. You'll drive your truck wrong. You'll purchase your trucks wrong. Because you'll buy a beautiful hood truck. No side skirts that get shitty mileage.
Let me ask you this.
John is exactly right. It saves $7,000 to $10,000 a year having side skirts on your truck.
Wait, how much was it?
$7,000 to $10,000 a year because it saves over a gallon per mile.
Yep.
You get one more MPG. And you know the thing about taking the mirrors off, like Nussbaum has done? That saves a third of a mile.
Okay, let me ask you.
I said it was an eighth per mirror.
Yeah, it's a third between the two mirrors. And then you have those dumb little hubcaps that go on the wheels. They're right at about a quarter of a mile. Okay. Now, here's the deal. The other thing was, well, it depends on how you drive the truck. Guess what? It doesn't matter how you drive the truck. Because if you drive like a maniac without skirts, you drive like a maniac with skirts. And by the way,
I want to ask you this.
On one other fun thing right before you guys get into the real good stuff. That Wabash verdict, 100% justified. They rocked them hard. They should have rocked them harder. Do you know why they got rocked? Do you know why there's a $450,000 or $450 million verdict? Because Wabash knew about it, didn't fix it, continued to sell trailers with this DOT bar that was not sufficient. They knew it wasn't sufficient. Canada is the one that called them out on it.
Okay.
And they didn't do anything to fix it. And the way they came up with $450 million is they figured out how much money they saved by not changing DOT bars on all these trucks between 2004 and 2000. I think it was 13 or 14 when they actually finally started changing them. They should have recalled those trailers. They didn't. Those trailers had inadequate bars, so that's why they were hit. They were actually hit for $6 million. There were two plaintiffs that were killed, their families, got $6 million each in compensatory damages. That money is coming from an insurance company and is coming from the trucking company. The $450 million is only coming from the Wabash. And the reason the drunk and all that other stuff didn't come in is because it had no bearing on the fact that they knew they were selling trailers that did not meet specifications and chose not to fix it. Doesn't matter how the accident happened. That was irrelevant.
Midlife, I'm torn. I got a lot of questions to ask you, but I'm gonna choose the best one because we're talking about it. Nuclear verdicts in and of themselves. What do you think should happen with the amount of nuclear verdicts? Should they go away or should they continue even harder?
But this wasn't a nuclear verdict. This verdict was.
It's as close to it as you can actually ever expect. I mean, 450 million, that's a lot.
No. A nuclear verdict is where they go outside of what the justification for the damages are. In this case, $6 million apiece for the 2 lives lost in compensatory damages because they knew about the problem and didn't fix it. The $450 million fine doesn't actually go to the plaintiffs. Is because they knew about this industry problem and did not fix it. So this money is going to be used for fixing whatever these trailers are still on the road. A lot of them aren't on the road anymore. And it's also going to get reduced by the time it goes because they're going to say, hey, we can't afford it. They're going to get it knocked down. But the fact is, what they did is they calculated how much money did you save by not fixing all these trailers. And that's what they penalized them. I think they should have hit them just for exactly the way they did.
Okay, one more question, Midlife.
That's a lot of
I'm gonna have to
for a bumper.
No, well, true. And the point he's making, I agree. Let me ask you this, and to the point that I was making with John earlier, I want to see what your thought is. I wasn't so much talking about the skirts. I was talking about the added weight. But beside that,
they've already calculated that in when they come up with the savings.
True that, but no. I'm talking about the argument that Grumpy and John were having about the fuel efficiency. I made the point to the two of them in the middle of their argument and said, you know what? A lot can be said about fuel economy because you came in here pounding all of us. So I want to make sure that my position is clearly known on this now. One of the things I said between their arguments was, it doesn't matter all the stuff you do. If you don't drive the truck right, your fuel savings are going to be less or more depending on how you drive. You can do everything under the sun. Well, no, it is.
Actually.
It's irrelevant to the conversation about skirts because if you don't drive the truck right, you're not going to drive the truck right with skirts or without skirts. That's just another factor in a completely different argument.
Tom, I'm talking about fuel efficiency. I wasn't talking about the actual.
Again, completely different discussion. If you don't drive the truck
still going to save. You're still going to save the same amount of money. You're still going to save the same amount of money if you drive like a bat out of you-know-where compared to driving like a grandma because it still cuts down on the amount of miles per gallon you're burning because of air drag. So it doesn't matter if you're driving faster or slower, it's still going to help you. But if you drive slower and you have better air efficiency, money on all the way.
Exactly.
By the way, I love Buc-ee's and I'm a trucker. Whoops, I wasn't allowed to say that publicly. Sorry.
Me too.
Hey, we all have our lot to live. We all have our lot to live. Guys, I tell you what, today was a challenging show. I certainly appreciate each and every one of you that added to it. Every one of you in the audience. Don't forget, look at every one of these panelists. Go ahead, check them out, subscribe to their channel, follow them for some great entertainment and hard-hitting trucking adventure. You know what? Be sure and check out the video I mentioned early on about companies failing. There are some good points I make in it. As we wrap up, remember, there is no legal battle or media narrative. Everybody here can at least get behind or understand truth versus fiction. The challenges we face, whether they're from these verdicts or regulatory overreach, are real, but they don't define us. We'll keep fighting for what's right. I'll see you on Saturday, where it's sure to be another fighting chance at understanding the truth in broadcasting. Till then, guys, trucks make the deliveries. You make the difference. You keep on. Be sure and keep it safe driving. Be sure and keep it real. And we will keep it rolling.